You mentioned to me in one of our messages that you just got done doing 22 years.
Yeah, I just did 22 years. I did got caught up in like a little manslaughter bid shit with the homies. Went and did my little time. I made my way back to society.
Well, welcome home, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us tonight.
Oh yeah, no problem. No problem.
Now, to the best of your knowledge, what gangs were around before Crips and Bloods came to Macon?
All right, before Crips and Bloods came to Macon, we went through like the sorority phases, like Sigma South Phi, Omega South Phi, like little regular hood stuff. Then it advanced to like what you would call West Side Posse, FBI, which would be fellas being intelligent. We had ADE, another devastating example. We had something called Kings, which turned around to be the Mafia. Kings stood for the incident gangster style. And before the Crips and the Bloods came, the West Side was just the West Side, period. You had the different sections. You had Bellevue. You had, of course, my neighborhood, Duncan Avenue, Unionville. You had Low Street, a couple of streets that made Oglethorpe. All those places were just regular neighborhoods that transferred to being gang or part of the gang movement. Macon has been banging since the 80s. Like, the first gangs we had in Macon, the Thunder Macon, were the Crips. The Insane Crips came to Macon in the late 80s. So the transitions went from like the late 80s. Atlanta really didn't start gang banging until like the early 2000s. You had not just Macon though. You had Savannah, Columbus, Albany. All those places were like gang banging before Atlanta even thought about doing any gang stuff. So that was just a factual thing. Macon used to be 912, but they changed the area code to 478 because of the gang activity. Because the gang said it is 912.
Now, you said Insane Crips. That's as in from Long Beach, California?
Yeah,
okay.
The Long Beach guys, the Gaithers were very influential in the culture down there where we from. They came in like the late 80s, 88, 89, 87. They came by then. Matter of fact, the dude that started Young Foundation for the YLC, Chris Gaither, he was from Long Beach. He's one of the first dudes that had a chance to interact in Macon, Georgia.
Okay, that's interesting to me most definitely because I'm born and raised in Long Beach. So,
I know a couple of people out there, that we interact with, like I said, the Gaithers most definitely were in Macon. They've been in Macon a long time.
Okay.
For the longest, doing their thing, So they were like the first look, rocking the Raiders, rocking the Raiders gear, coming to the Mac, doing their thing. They came, as a lot of California dudes do, they come with the drug trade,
Mm-hmm.
You come and it's like a thing to hustle for them, but it's also introducing the culture to other people when they do come. So when they start mingling and mixing with the people down in our area, it grew to something greater.
In my studies on Macon, Georgia, I heard the name Andre Taylor or Gangsta Dre. Can you talk about his importance to bringing Crips to Macon?
Well, he's like the founder and the forefather of the 912 Crips. He's the one that started the 912 Crips. Everything that comes from that comes from him. He is the founder. There's no other person that could be designated as a founder other than him. He's the person that really put it down to make it where, we are what we are. We're independent set. We don't fall up under any caliphate. We are on independent set in the South. Like one of the first ones over here like that.
And he was killed at a young age, and is that mural still up of him?
Oh yeah, that's never going anywhere. That's gonna be that long as the streets in the making exist. That's gonna be there. That's never ever going anywhere.
Has anyone tried to like desecrate the mural or anything?
Hell no, that'll never happen.
Be a bad day for him, probably.
Man, that'll never happen. They'll never get the opportunity to do that. We always up there at that store around that mural, so it's probably no way impossible that that will ever happen.
Okay, all right.
He doesn't just have respect from the Crips. He has respect from all the gangs that make. You know what I'm saying? When he died, it brought the city out and together as a whole. His death changed a lot about bringing people more together than anything. It didn't have a negative reaction on the city of him dying.
Okay.
It brought more people together than anything.
And what I understand, he gave back to the community. I mean, he
fed a lot of people. He was the type of guy that encouraged the young guys to do better. As you know, his son went on to play pro football.
Is that QT?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's QT. You know what I'm saying? So he went on to play Detroit Lions 87. You know what I'm saying? He went on to play pro football. The things he instilled in his son, he tried to instill in a lot of the younger homies. But at the same time, you can't make a person take something that you're trying to give them, So, with the streets calling, a lot of people go astray, but he tried his best to influence as many of the homies as he could to do better for themselves.
Let me ask you personally, when is the first time you ever remember hearing anything about Crips and Bloods?
That would have been like the mid '80s.
Okay.
So you always had people coming to Macon. Macon has always been a spot that has been known for like, cause you go back to the chicken circuit, to the chitlin circuit.
Chitlin circuit, yeah.
Yeah, back in the days, Macon has always been a spot for black people to come to get on. Cause like I say, James Brown got on there Macon, Otis Redding got on there Macon, Little Richard got on there Macon. Macon has always been a happening place for black. It's just that like I say, Atlanta has so much other stuff going on, but when you come to the city, it's like I say, it's like the gangster activity. When you think of the gangster activity, you have to look at the movement of Jeezy and Kinky Beat. They the people that put the gangsterism of Georgia really on the map.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Who was the second name you said? You said Jeezy and who else?
Kinky Beat.
Okay, you mentioned him earlier. Okay.
Yeah. They really brought the trap gangster appeal to Macon. If you go back through music and check the history, T.I. wasn't doing it about no gang shit like that. It was the music that Jeezy brought with the trap or die.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? About coming through the club, doing your gang stuff and all that stuff. That's what changed a whole lot of that shit.
How old were you when you turned Crip?
When I turned Crip, I had to be about 13 or 14.
Talk to me about that day.
Okay, we all get quoted, what's called quoted. You know what I'm saying? Like you get quoted, you get beat in. It's like a regular thing, but it's not a regular thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a new day. Like when we first started the stuff down there, we never imagined that it would be what it is today. We never thought that it would grow to be as big as it is, because our gang is outgrew just making itself. Like we had a whole middle Georgia, we have parts of Atlanta, we have Valdosta, we have Augusta, we have things outside of Georgia too. You know what I'm saying? So you never would think that it would get to where it is today, to be what it is today. And a lot of people look at it as a negative thing in a negative light. But when you have youth that are just running the street and really don't know no better, it's not a thing such as being a negative or a positive. It's just an experience you have to go through to learn in life. Because a lot of us have turned out to be different than what we originally started to be out to be.
I was studying Macon, and Montpelier apparently in the 90s was the dividing line between the Crips and the Mafia. Now I've heard of the Vice Lords, I've heard about I've heard Disciples, I've heard Crips, Bloods, obviously, but I've never heard of the Mafia. What's the Mafia? Okay,
West Side Mafia is something that was started like when the Crips really started. It started like a little bit after the Crips started. And like Montpelier is separated. Matter of fact, it's two stores that face each other. On one side of the street, you have the Crips. On the other side of the street, you have the Mafia.
Yeah.
They control all the area from Montpelier back to Napier Avenue, everything in between now, like Ernest Street, Roy Street, Whitehall, all that's their area. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I told you, they illustrated with something called King. And really, like, it was more of a family-oriented thing. Like, all the games that make it really work, you can just basically say family-oriented people. You know what I'm saying? It's just that people separated into falling up on the different areas. All of the stuff in Macon is like Macon created. We don't have outside. We created what we created, then we got accepted by the outsiders. We made them respect us because, Macon was the gang capital for a couple of years. We outdid Cali per capita. They were saying we were doing more than Cali was doing for a little bit of time. You know what I'm saying? So then you have to look at a lot of people overlook the fact. See, when you look at the gang activity, you have to look at the fact that, okay, you had the West Coast. The West Coast was Crips. You had the Midwest. The Midwest was GD. You had up north, it was whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? But then you had the South. The South was a mixture of every gang in the United States. We had Blood, Crips, and GDs for anywhere else had all that stuff together. The whole South did. Like you can't really find when they had GDs in California as a big set, or you can't find when they had Crips in Chicago as a big set.
Right.
But you can come to Georgia and the South and see that they had all this going on down here. Whereas a lot of people be thinking the South was slow or behind time. We had a lot of this shit, or they had to deal with a lot of this shit. I can remember California niggas coming over here and not knowing that the niggas in black were GDs. They thinking they Crips. You know what I'm saying? They you know what I'm saying? Because they weren't used to being around it. We had been around it a long time before that.
You got a 22-year bid. I would like to talk about your prison story a little bit to hopefully detour a lot of kids listening. What was it like for an active Crip entering prison in GA?
All right, and here you have to move as a unit. There's no such thing as a separate person or you or individual, because like if a blood attacks a Crip, they'll attack all the Crips. If a Crip gets into it, the blood, all the Crips have to get into it. So it depends on the amount of respect you have as a person and who you are as a person, which determines like what your prison sentence is like. Like you could be a foot soldier and you have issues, but you can be an OG or a big homie, and it's a difference in what you endure when you're in prison. You know, like whereas like it's always situations, but if you're a thinker, you can mediate the situation. Because the object of it is to keep as less situations as possible, because people die. People really literally die. Like it's death that comes with it.
Were you locked up in Georgia prison?
Yeah, I was in Georgia prison. I did time at like a couple of Georgia prisons, Autry, Reedsville, Calhoun, Telfair, most of the level 5 camps.
Now, I've talked to several people who have done a lot of time behind bars on my show, and one thing that they said is that almost half, or some have said the majority of people who are locked up because they were snitched on by somebody. When you heard the judge say you're getting 22 years, what's going on in your head at that time?
Nah, they told me I was getting more years than that. I actually had got like 7. I had actually got like 70 years. To be honest.
Damn, which makes my question a little bit deeper. I mean, you think you're about to spend the rest of your natural life in prison. What was going on in your head mentally?
Well, the thing that should be going on in everybody's head in a situation like that is that you should be trying to find a loophole or find a lawyer to make things work for you. It depends on what the situation is. Different people's situations is different. They vary from person to person. The next person's situation might not be what my situation is. Whereas, like, I felt like it was a situation where I was defending myself against the people, and when it came down to it, I wasn't going to tell them the people with me because, hey, we weren't in the wrong to me and for how I see things or how I was looking at things. So my situation was maybe different from someone else. You know what I'm saying? So, when the judge said the time, the only thing I could think of was that, I got to find a way to get back. Don't give up on myself or think that I'm just gone or my shit's just fucked up like that right there. Just, got to buckle down, get a lawyer, learn the law, learn what's going on, and keep myself as far removed from bullshit as possible so that I can get back.
And all right, 22 years. So shit, what changed most about Macon when you came home? Was it a better city than you left it? Was it a worse off city than you left it?
Macon was way different. Cause like at a time when I was running around in the streets, if you weren't built a certain type of way, you couldn't go certain places. Like you wouldn't find people that come to my neighborhood that weren't built or weren't allowed in my neighborhood. Whereas you had some of us that would go anywhere, everywhere we wanted to go. People weren't allowed to go everywhere like that. So it's like that was one of the greatest changes, period.
When was Macon most active?
I would say Macon was the most active, like first beginning of the 90s, from like 90 to like 96, 97. That's when Macon was really just wide open.
Take me back to when the movie Colors came out. Did that have like any impact on your city at all? I know, I think you said mid 80s they were already there, so they probably already in there for a few more years. But did that like explode things? Like,
no, Colors didn't really. It wasn't the colors. Colors. It was the actually mingling with the dudes that were from there.
Yeah.
Because you like I say, once the Long Beach guys came, you had guys came from Carson. You had guys came from Rolling 60s. You had guys came from everywhere just come in a mingling. Like I said, it was about money. So dudes are mingling trying to make this money, and they're coming through. You know what I'm saying? And we meeting these dudes and seeing these dudes. Then, when Dre came from Carson, back from Carson, California, it was something different. The whole dynamics of what was going on changed. It was a thing whereas if we doing this, we ain't doing this their way, we doing this our way.
I've heard people say the streets are a lie, the streets are a myth. What are your general thoughts when you hear things like that?
Okay. I went to prison. I took some charges. I went to prison. I was what I would say what keeping it real is, I ain't gonna let y'all go to prison. I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna take these charges. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. But then at the end of the day, the when you get a chance to firsthand see it, it really is a myth. Like it's only I say it's like a 92%, 8% thing. Scarface said that one time. Like 92% of this shit's just fucked up. It's only 8% of the people that are gonna hold to the realism of the rules and morals or the ethics of the streets.
What's the difference between gangsters when you were coming up and gangsters in 2020?
There are no gangsters in 2020.
Break it down.
Okay. Gangsters, when I was coming up, like I was taught by the dudes before me, they were gangsters without being gang members. You know, it's a hustle. It's a less violent thing as possible. It don't matter. It's not about who shoots the gun the most or who whoops the most ass. It's about having the mind and using your mind to elevate not only yourself, but those in your circle to be better or to move on or to give back and reach back and teach the next one. You know, it's like each one teach one. Nowadays, that don't go on. Them dudes got these dudes crashing out, doing dumb shit. A lot of dudes don't got into this social media shit and making mockery of their damn self on social media and acting as if they're gang members. You know, it's like I'm the big homie, but I'm on Facebook arguing about a bitch. That's not what goes on. Or you know, I'm on Facebook teaching you how to sell drugs on Facebook, or hustle your weed on Facebook, or do this. You know, it's no teaching. It's no teaching of the game. It's no elevation of the teaching of the rules, because the rules have been totally ignored. Like if you're a civilian, there are no rules. Like you are on a whole different code. But if you're a gang member, there's supposed to be rules and charters. It's supposed to be big homies, YGs, TGs, OYGs, and such and so forth. But the big homies are supposed to be the ones that influence and pretty much control the flow of what's going on. And the young dudes just don't respect that no more because nobody's doing none of that no more.
You know, probably the biggest change from when you first got locked up to when you got out is social media. What are your general thoughts on social media and how gang members interact with it nowadays? And it's getting people locked up. You know, things they're doing on camera is getting them put behind bars. What are your whole general thoughts on that?
On the one hand, it's like, okay, if me and you take a picture together and I'm throwing up a gang sign and we get in trouble, you're a gang member. I think that's wrong. Like that's happened to my son even. Like, you know, you're on a picture with some dudes just because you got on blue and they throwing up gang signs, that means you're a gang member. You know what I'm saying? And that's just crazy as hell. But then the infiltration of gangs on Facebook is the most amazing thing, because you have these dudes that try to question people, or more or less like, who are you? What are you? Well, I know this, and do you know this, and do you know this? And people are actually giving the people the game of the game. Like I might not know nothing about gangs. I can go on a Crip group and learn about Crips. So I know a little bit or just enough that I can feed to somebody else to like, okay, I know a little something, now you give me some more. You know what I'm saying? Like I might not have knew this then, but look, I went on the site and I seen that Crip stands for this. So I tell you Crip stands for this, and you ask me, do I know this? And I tell you, you just enlighten me because I don't know, and I've been misled. Then I teach you stuff that you ain't got no business knowing.
Damn.
Yeah, you never know who's behind the keyboards or what their purpose is behind the keyboards or none of this stuff. Man, this shit is super watered down, bro. This shit is like Kool-Aid with no sugar. like this is what it's like, you know. And then like the people that are getting the fame for the gang activity are like the lowest of the total pole. Like Tekashi is a perfect example. You get all this you sold hundreds and hundreds of millions of albums, probably 1 billion streams. But what you taught people is to be a rat. You taught gang members to rat. Like you ran with some dudes that were real dudes. The dudes you ran with were real official blood dudes. Okay, you running with these dudes. Okay, the whole time you're running with them, they're not saying you're not right. They're not saying they're using you or nothing. They're just letting you do your thing and they're backing you. So you're teaching the youth to act as if they see you act. So they say music influences the culture. That's what their opinion is anyway. You know what I'm saying? So if you got a motherfucker like this doing, like, it's no more Scarfaces anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's no more Ghetto Boys. It's no more Dr. Dre's. It's no more Nipsey's. It's rare to find that. That's like non-existent nowadays.
Another big change in since you were, you know, got convicted into when you're getting out is music, and I mean specifically certain aspect of music. Nowadays, they're disrespecting people about as they're trying to get as disrespectful as possible. I mean, they're videotaping, music videos at the opposition's gravesite. I mean, they're
talking about Julio.
Yeah, Young and Ace, all those guys, and this is a thing that's going around all over the country. Now New York has their own scene where they're just standing on people's grave sites and like just smoking on this pack, smoking on that pack.
But
go ahead.
But to me, all that disrespectful shit comes from that sucker ass versus shit they did. Like,
okay,
to me,
you talking about the Jeezy and Gucci Man thing?
Yeah,
talk to me, dog, because you're from Georgia, so you're a little bit closer to that whole situation. So, okay, talk to me about that.
Most definitely. Like man, like a dead person. Like, I guess I read Gucci Man said Rick Ross told him to rap about what he did because he actually did that. You know what I'm saying? So without getting too far into that, it's like what they did, they saying Jeezy's biggest thing was like, I'm doing this for the culture. This is for the culture. This is for the culture. But if you look at the violent numbers, like in the areas where him and Gucci Man are from, Atlanta, and making the violence went up, like we had a record number of homicides this year. Damn. Like it's crazy. Yeah. Like in Atlanta, 2 or 3 people die every day, and making this look like 53, 54 murders.
And that's a small city. You hear 53 murders, people, and you think, oh, only 53. No, this is a small city.
Yeah,
you got to go
with small city.
Yeah, man. This is in comparison. Like 53 murders in Los Angeles is nothing because we have 3 million people here. But
3 million people. Yeah, but 50, if you got 80,000 people in a county, like not a city, in a county, period. And it's 53 people die in the main city of the county. That's bad. They say per capita, that's real bad. So you have to look at the per capita. Like
exactly.
Yeah, if Macon was the same size as Los Angeles,
I mean, it's probably worse than Chicago right now.
Yeah, it would be. Those murders would be in the hundreds.
Yeah,
those murders would be a lot greater. Yeah. But it's like that disrespect. It did more damage than it did good in my eyes.
So that was a Pookie Loc thing, right? When he dissed Pookie Loc.
Yeah, like it's like it did more damage. I'm gonna leave it at that. It just did more damage. That it was a fucked up thing to do.
That one little decision, huh?
Yeah, that one little decision started a whole bunch of shit. You know what I'm saying? That one little decision
just sparked something up that was 15 years old and probably no one was even thinking about or was kind of.
And then I listen. Like Gucci took advantage of the situation. Jeezy had no one with him from where we're from. Because if it had been anybody there with us from where we're from, they know what would have went on. Okay. That's why Gucci had that. That's why Gucci had all that
from
security. Jeezy's from Hartsville, Georgia, but Macon is what put Jeezy on.
Gotcha, never knew that.
Jeezy got on in Macon. Yeah, Jeezy got on in Macon.
Gotcha.
As far as the music goes.
Yeah.
As far as being on as a hustler, he was always on.
Gotcha.
But as far as the music goes on, he got on in Macon, Georgia.
Okay.
But that's like I said, that's why Gucci had all the security. The security wasn't for the event. It was for the people from Macon because he know what's going on. Like anybody from Georgia knows about Macon, knows what's going on with Macon. If you Google Macon, you'll see what's going on with Macon, Georgia. Macon, Georgia has always been where the gangster shit comes from in Georgia. It's undeniable. Before us, it was all been in Georgia.
Damn, man, I didn't think of it that deep. When we're watching it, we see it as entertainment, right? Like as
no, it's not. It's not entertainment.
No, not you, because you live. You know what I'm saying? You guys live it down there.
What you got is like POOKIE LOC is a reputable guy from Macon, Georgia.
Okay.
He's more than a reputable guy. He was a real gangster. Rest in peace and God bless the homie. He was a real gangster. Like he wasn't like you portraying him like you talking this shit. But you talking this shit because whatever happened, not getting into that, but whatever happened, you got lucky in the situation. You know what I'm saying? Because POOKIE LOC is a legendary guy. If you go where we from and do an interview on POOKIE LOC, or if you were to come down there and go around and hear the story, POOKIE LOC wasn't no fucked up dude, but he was a real dude. You know what I'm
saying? Damn. And you know what? You would expect this from 22, 23-year-old maybe, but Gucci and Jeezy, they're a little bit older, man. So you would think that
man. Yeah, but the fucked up thing about it is they discussed this shit before that, and they discussed this shit before the show actually happened. So it was already made to do this. You know what I'm saying? And then you have a lot of people that feel like people from Macon don't agree with Jeezy, don't like Jeezy. People from Macon fuck with Jeezy. It's just that some decisions are bad decisions. You know what I'm saying? You got some people fuck with him, some people don't. You know, but some decisions are just fucked up decisions to make. That's no hate or no bad toward dude. You know what I'm saying? I love him to death. But some decisions are fucked up decisions to make. Like that's something you shouldn't have opened up because if a whole city of motherfuckers would care about that dude.
Thank you for sharing that from a perspective from somebody from Georgia, because once again the audience doesn't understand how important something like that is. We click on the YouTube video, oh, that shit's cool. Nah, man, there's some real shit behind this, dude.
I be on YouTube a lot, so like you have people say shit and they say the most ignorant shit in the world. It's like yeah, you blasting, smoking this and this and this and this and this and this. But y'all don't know how many people don't got pulled up on about that bullshit. Mm-hmm. How many people don't posted something on social media talking that shit, and then they pull up. Or how CEO Big 30 was talking that shit like he bad Gucci man, and he was finna come to Macon, and he did come to Macon because he knew what was going on. Mm. Now these are factual basis of things. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I'm gonna tell you a perfect situation would be. People look at Georgia in a certain type of way because of Atlanta, but you got Savannah, Macon, Albany, Columbus. These areas are areas where motherfuckers don't play. Like, motherfuckers die fucking around here. Mm. These guys have been doing this gangster shit far longer than that. You know what I'm saying? Just so happens, or the misfortunate event, that homie got killed up here. But at the same time, Holmes know what's going on, though. Like, if he was just a real nigga and just talk to you, like, yeah, well, I know Macon don't play. Macon don't play. It's like when he came to do the show in Macon. You got all this motherfucking security. You got the GBI, the ATF, you got the parole officers, the probation officers. You got everybody in the world like this motherfucker. Then you got where people can't come in the door wearing blue shirts. But I go on the internet and I see them talking all this shit. Wow. It's like, oh, you talking this shit. But motherfuckers don't know. You got all this other shit going. Oh, I came to Macon, I did a show. But you had the whole entire police world like that motherfucker. What you expect the motherfucker to do? Go to jail for trying to kill you or something? Well, that's it's just different strokes, man. Like I said, I hate that versus shit happened though. That versus shit was not for the culture. It was not good whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? That shit was really some straight bullshit.
Damn, man, you just broke it down, and yeah, you're gonna be. That really sucks, man. I'm sorry that things are. And you said that the homicide rate is skyrocketing. It's like that in L.A., man, and a couple of other cities, Philadelphia. I mean, it's just really. Why do you think we're going back to homicide rates that we haven't seen since the 90s?
Well, with the gang shit, I can say that you have too many niggas coming from other spots trying to run other niggas' spots. Like, you have phone call OGs now. Like, I phone call and you make a dude OG over a hood now. Like, it's not like if I'm in California and I got a line in Georgia, it's a phone call that make a nigga OG now. You don't know this nigga. You don't know what he about. You don't know if he real, he fake, he flaw. He might have came to California, met the dudes. All of a sudden you come back, you're a Georgia OG now. But you might be a pussy motherfucker over here. You might be the softest thing it is in the world over this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the game and the dynamics of the game has changed. Everybody wants this money. They don't care what they do to get the money. Everybody wants this fame. It's being gangsters. They don't know how to go about being a real gangster.
Man, OG Head, I would love to leave on a positive note. I know you work with children. Give us an idea, man, of what you do with the youth and how you're trying to, make a change.
All right, me and this is actually a couple of different fronts. We have something called Our Community Matters that we do out of Millersville, we do out of Macon. When we get the youth and we take them out, like we take them to the aquarium, we sit down and talk to them. We try to mentor to them. We have bike giveaways, book bag giveaways. We try to do things and tell them like, for a long time I looked at people that were talking to the youth, and they always try to talk like politically correct. Like, I'm not gonna cuss, I'm not gonna say this, I'm not gonna say that. But these same kids are cussing in all this other shit. It's like you trying to talk to them in a way that they're not respecting you for talking to them like that. You know what I'm saying? So we came up with a formula of how to talk to them on a relatable level. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna talk to you like you talk to me. Like, I'm not gonna play with you like you're some innocent, like you're some innocent baby, but I know you out there terrorizing the neighborhood. Like I'm trying to give you a pat on the hand when you need to just be told what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? So like, me and a couple of the homies, that have got older, we took it upon ourselves to get like the nonprofit Our Community Matters. I have my homie, Mr. Big Man, who has a Superpowers podcast. You know, he is into mentoring and tapping into your spiritual powers. You know, it's knowing yourself, finding self in the process of becoming who you are. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people trying to put back and give back. You have the up and coming artists like Drip Goo, Billy Howard, all these people trying to give back to the community and do things to kind of like bend the cycle. Because, you know, when you have a small town, everybody knows everybody pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Like, we grew up with somebody that knows something or knows your folks or something like that. So it makes no sense to not intercede before the shit gets to a level where it shouldn't be, you know, to try to stop the bullshit from going on.
Man, really appreciate everything you're doing out there in the streets, you know, to at least do your part. Let me ask you, man, I know you work with some musical acts and, you know, you got your YouTube channel. I want you to tell everybody where they could find you and promote anything you want, man. The floor is yours, dude.
Oh, man, if I could promote anything, man, I'm going to promote Macon, Georgia, man. No matter who it is or what they are for Macon, Georgia, as long as they're some real individuals, man, you fuck with them. If you see that hush movement, first until something happened, that's one of the homies from Macon, Georgia. You see that guap rappers, that's some of the homies from Macon, Georgia. You know, the Superpowers podcast, Mr. Big Man, Sonny Campbell, you know, those are people from Macon, Georgia. Drip Goo, Cash Talk, CPH, you know, it's so many different acts and so many different. I don't want to name anybody to keep from leaving anybody out. So if you see anything from my city, man, just support it, because that's going to be the realest it get most of the time. And we're going to let you know if it's some bullshit. We don't play like that.
Man, I really enjoyed this conversation, man. I would love to have you on in a few months, man, and just make this a reoccurring thing because I dig your vibe and everything, man.
I tell you what, though, man. You know, I'm not a selfish dude, man. I like to turn you on to some more.
Please
dudes
do.
From the city, man.
I would really appreciate that, actually.
Like our city is weird, whereas people don't really like to talk to strangers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to be really like if you watch a lot of these blogs that go around. You know what I'm saying? You'll see they come every at night, or they come and they don't really get to talk to anybody. You know what I'm saying? But when you got certain people that are reputable people from where we're from, we can open the door to make it so you can talk to people. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to open the door and extend the invitation to you.
Please.
To like hook you up to where like whoever you want to talk to. If you want to talk to some mafia dudes, you want to talk to some blood dudes, you want to talk to some GD dudes,
thank you.
Whoever you want to talk to, I'll open the door for you to extend the invitation because like I don't want to be the only voice for Macon. I can only tell you Macon from my story, from what I've seen and experienced. You know, I can't speak for other people and what's going on with them. I can just tell you this is what I've seen. Somebody might have seen something different that's more vital than what I've seen. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm telling you from my perspective. But what I would like to do is open the door for you to go be able to talk to a lot of more people, man.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, and my YouTube is Gangsta Advisory South. That's what it is.
That's right. Gangsta Advisory South. Make sure you guys follow him on YouTube, Gangsta Advisory South. Thank you for tuning in to DustyVisionTV. Please hit that like button if you have not already. And if this is your first time joining the channel and you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, you just might appreciate this bonus clip I'm about to play for you right now. Pretty popular movie came out called Colors, 88, I do believe it was. So you're probably in high school around this time. Take me back to what you remember about the movie Colors coming out.
I just remember that it was a big hoopla about it, you know, because at that point in time, you know, the Crips and Bloods was extremely prevalent in L.A. And I remember, you know, it being kind of a big panic in some cities where they was trying to decide whether they was going to air it or not, you know. And well, for the most part, out there in Bannon, where we was at, we didn't have no problem. You know, I remember going to the movie theater and checking it out and stuff. And so, but like I say, I just remember it seemed like it was more of a problem nationwide than it was in Bannon, you know.
What were your first thoughts when you started hearing groups like Ice-T, NWA, King T, DJ Quick, you know, holler their sets on record, and this thing called gangster rap came out?
Oh, you know, it was, I loved it, you know, and I'll never forget the first time that I heard NWA. It was a dude by the name of Donald B. He had the tape, and he was from LA. He was from the Family Swan area. And he let me listen to it. And so yeah, it was just extremely, you know, it hyped me up just to hear these dudes, you know, talking talking this, this raw music. And actually to Ice-T, he was always one of my favorites too, 6 in the Morning. And he had a few other songs that was extremely, extremely nice.
When would you say you were most active in the street? What ages?
I would probably say maybe beginning probably like around maybe 1988, 1989, 1990 up until 94 until I was arrested and went to prison.
Okay, so 88, 89. LA, once again, that was probably when it was at its worst. 91, 92, 93 was really crazy in LA. Like we were having like 2,000 homicides a year. It was like crazy numbers. When to the best year remembrance was banning just out of control, the most active?
Well, I would say pretty much probably all those years it was relatively bad. But if my memory serves me correct, I believe 93, 94, I believe Bannon led Riverside County in murders per capita. And so it was extremely bad that year. Like I say, Bannon's a small, one high school, one McDonald's town. And I think it was close to like 19, 20 murders, something that year, if I'm not mistaken. It was somewhere around there. So that's the year that I would probably say it was, it was definitely one of his worst years, if not the worst.
And I know a lot of you cats out there hear 19, 20 murders. It doesn't sound like a lot, but keep in mind, Banning is a very small town. So 20 murders in a very small town per capita, percentage-wise, is probably more than what Chicago was experiencing, or LA, or like a lot of other places around the country. Let's fast forward to 1994, a year that changed your life. You ended up spending 24 years in prison.
By 94, I'm full-fledged into the streets. Gang member. I'm also at that point in time, I was living in the state of Billings, Montana. I was out there selling, large quantities of drugs, and I came back to California to purchase some more drugs. And there was an altercation at a house party, and there were some people shot. And so I was being wanted for that shooting. And so I ended up going on the run, and I was eventually captured in that was 1993. I was eventually captured in 1994, and when I was captured, I was also charged with another murder that occurred while I was on the run, and so those are the circumstances that sent me to prison.
Prop 36 was one of the big props during the recent election, and it passed in California. And for anyone outside of California who doesn't know what Prop 36 is, what that means is a yes vote on Prop 36 means people convicted of certain drug or theft crimes could receive increased punishments, such as longer prison sentences. Now, Proposition 47 back in 2014 changed some theft and drug crimes from felonies to misdemeanors. For example, shoplifting, stealing items worth $1,000 or less from a store, and drug possessions generally became misdemeanors. What are your general thoughts, as someone behind the walls, what are your general thoughts on Prop 36 before we dive into it a little bit?
So, we had a mock election in here that was held by Mount Tam College, one of the colleges that operates inside San Quentin. And so they sent out ballots to all the 3,600 residents here and, check the box. It was like an election, right? Who you vote for president, some of the people down ballot, and they put some of the props on there, and that was on there, Prop 36, right? And me personally, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I voted yes on 36. Harsher penalties for stealing, right? As a person that's incarcerated and having a history of robberies from the age of 14 all the way up to the age of, 25, that was my crime of choice. I now understand and see how wrong it is to take the property of another person for any reason, right? And when I think about my life moving forward as an entrepreneur and aspiring business owner, wanting to put businesses in the community, yeah, I would like to see a harsher penalty if somebody think they're going to crash a stolen car into my storefront, bust down my windows, come in there with a sledgehammer, and steal everything that I've worked so hard in my life to put on the shelf to feed my family. That's a problem for me. I see that now, even as an incarcerated person. So, yeah, I think that when they passed it, the law essentially saying that they're going to reclassify these crimes as misdemeanors to give people of color a break because we're disproportionately affected by laws like this, right? That we should have took that and ran with it and said, you know what? It's all good. You know? Instead, what we did is said, it's all good in the wrong way and turned up. Flash mob robberies. When I turn on the Bay Area news, that is the crime of choice up here. Smash and grab. Through the roof. And as a person that's incarcerated with a life sentence, going to the parole board and trying to make my case to get out, right? They're saying, and look at these knuckleheads. Why should we let you out right now when this is what they're doing in the community? Right? It's just making it harder for people like us that want to get out, that's trying to get out, that have changed their lives, to make our case for rehabilitation and wanting to make the community better, when every time you turn on the news, you see people smashing and grabbing. And then the police stuck standing there like they can't chase them or do anything about it. And then frustrated business owners on television, on the news, bleeding their heart out about losing everything they had. It got to stop one way or another. And I'm hoping that a harsher penalty, legal-wise, stops it before the bullet in a business owner's gun stops it.
That's a great point.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
What are your thoughts on this aspect of Prop 36? It creates new court processes for some DRUG. I'm saying that because of YouTube. DRUG possession crimes. Prop 36 allows people who possess illegal DRUGs to be charged with the treatment mandated felony instead of a misdemeanor in some cases. Specifically, this applies to people who possess certain DRUGs such as fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, or meth, and have 2 or more past convictions for some DRUG crimes, such as possessing or selling. These people would generally get treatment, such as mental health or drug treatment. Those who finish treatment would have their charges dismissed. Those who do not finish treatment would serve up to 3 years in state prison. This change undoes some of the punishment reductions in Prop 47. What do you think about that aspect of the prop?
I think they're trying to look for a solution to tackle a tough problem, which is addiction, substance abuse, which I consider a disease more than a crime. And like you read off,
you have 60 seconds remaining.
If you take the route and pursue the treatment, they can do something about the sentence. If you don't, you're going to be up in San Quentin, over here in Badger section, looking like it's the Tenderloin.
Let's go back to 1984. Such a great year. I was only 6 years old at that time, but I remember 1984 very vividly. Specifically for a few things. And one of those things being a certain movie that was released in 1984 that changed my life. That almost introduced me to this thing called hip hop. And it wasn't even called hip hop back then. It was a movie called Breaking. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Breaking, and you just don't stop. Here comes the movie that's fresh and hot.
Turbo and Ozone. It's a classic movie, and it's one of the earlier memories of my life that I remember. So today I'm going to discuss Breaking. Y'all remember it? Classic movie. But let's talk about 1984 a little bit first. 1984, if you are alive at that time, you are blessed. You are a lucky person, because 1984, as a kid, was dope. Cartoons, I mean, we had Voltron, Heathcliff. That was one of my favorites. Y'all remember Heathcliff the cat? GoBots, Transformers.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons.
Do y'all kids think Transformers is this new thing? And they just started making the movies like 20 years. Nah, dog. Transformers was huge when I was a kid. And in 1984, there was nothing bigger than Transformers. I mean, Pink Panther. We had a lot of dope cartoons. If you're about my age, comment down below. What cartoons do you remember from the early 80s? I mean, 1984 even had some of the best music albums to be released. And one of those albums, which made me fall in love with music, was Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller. But 1984, we had, Bruce Springsteen, Madonna, obviously Run DMC. Hip hop was still very new, so we weren't hearing a lot of hip hop on the radio. When I would hop in the car with my mother, they weren't playing hip hop on the radio. They were playing pop. You know what I mean? 1984, the Cars, you know what I'm saying? Rush, Twisted Sister, like these are things that they were playing on the radio. Kool and the Gang, that was about as close as it got to rap or hip hop. In fact, when I first was listening to Kool and the Gang, I didn't understand rap/hip hop. So I kind of got them confused. I got funk confused with hip hop. And then I just started slowly studying the art form and the music. And I was like, oh man. So Kool and the Gang was one of my early introductions to music, and Michael Jackson's Thriller. I mean, some of the TV shows we had in 1984 doesn't get much better than that. The Cosby Show, shout out to Bill Cosby. Miami Vice, come on, dog. Night Court. And these shows ran for years. So even if I didn't understand them at that time, I was able to watch them 4, 5, 6 years later and get the jokes. Charles in Charge. Y'all remember Charles in Charge?
Charles in charge of our days and our nights. Charles in charge of our wrongs and our rights.
What were your favorite TV shows growing up as a kid? Comment down below. But today it's about 1984, and more specifically, the movie Breaking.
The ultimate show with Kelly, Ozone, and Turbo.
I had the honor to interview Michael Boogaloo Shrimp, who played Turbo in the movie. My favorite character, personally. I wanted to be like Turbo, man. His moves were everything to me. It was fantastic. And even watching it today as an adult, it's still amazing, some of the moves that he was making. I wasn't really a big Ozone fan when it came to the dance style. I remember as a kid thinking he was cool because he got all the girls or whatever. He got the white chick, stuff like that. But I never really dug his style. You know what I mean? Like the helicopter windmill, like all that. I never dug his style. But I think them together in that movie was a perfect blend. It was great. It showed both styles, and it showed two different characters.
I remember the script. We had an agent. The script came out where they said that they wanted Turbo and Ozone. And Turbo and Ozone, they didn't really define whether they were brother or where he was like my surrogate dad or whatever. They just said they were just two guys in the neighborhood that just used their talent just to kind of like be accepted and get by.
Ward, it's the recognition of my peers that makes all those agonizing days of teaching Ozone everything I know.
I don't want to stay here all night, do you?
Award winners don't push brooms.
Oh yeah? Why don't you go out and sweep, man? Who do you think you are anyway, Fred Astaire?
Who?
Little campy, little corny at times, right? We can all, as adults, we can admit that. It was a little campy, it was a little corny. But when I was a 6-year-old, there was nothing like this movie from the beginning to the end. I mean, the broom scene. The broom scene is legendary, ladies and gentlemen. The broom scene by Michael Boogaloo Shrimp, aka Turbo. When I was a kid watching that, I was amazed. And then
I even remember watching it later, you know, and I remember seeing the strings. As the quality of the video or the DVD got better, you would actually see, oh, that was strings. But I remember watching that grainy ass VHS video that I would rent down the street from such and such video, Blockbuster, I don't know what it was, John's Videos. We had so many video places back then, but I would take it home and you couldn't see the strings.
That was actually an accident, man. Once I got the job, I was messing around on stage on the set, and the director and the producers happened to be seeing me. It was through a break. I was balancing the broom on my finger, and I was floating in place. They were looking at me, and I'm like, oh, dude, do I have the right deodorant? What's up? They got a prop guy, and they drilled with a drill bit. They drilled a hole in the center of the broom. Then they got some fishing string and put on my finger, and they said, okay, play with it.
Y'all remember going to rent videos? See, once again, something these kids, man, I'm getting nostalgic here, guys. When I was a kid, there was nothing like renting videos. Going out on a Friday or Saturday, you know, your mom would take you, whoever would take you, they would rent what they want, and then you would rent what you want, and then you watch a movie. I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street in 1984. That's another one. I was 6 years old. I would go to sleep to Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, I'm a little weird. But I would go to sleep to Nightmare on Elm Street. But there was nothing like going to the video store, man. Maybe getting some licorice or some ice cream or something there and taking it home and just enjoying it. Oh, man, you kids don't understand. Now everything, you don't even leave the house. And I get it. I enjoy. I don't like going to the movies anymore. Movies, I'm good on the movie. I like, if I'm gonna watch a movie, I want to watch it from my home. I'll pay to watch it from my home. I can drink, I can toke whatever I want. Like I'm good on going to movie theaters and spending damn near $25 per person for a ticket. And no, I'm good. I don't care about all the reclining seats and all that stuff you have. Nope, I'm good. I would rather watch it from my home. But back then, there was nothing like going to the video store. And you kids don't know about the video store, man. If you're under 30, you probably don't know about the video store. But it was such a good time. And Breaking is one that I would always rent. I was always at the video store renting Breaking. Like if there's one movie I rented more than anything as a kid, it had to be Breaking. I can't think of another movie that I rented more than Breaking as a kid. I was having a pretty deep conversation with one of my listeners in the comment section this past couple days about if Hispanics, Latinos should use the N-word, should say the N-word. My thoughts may be a little bit different because I grew up in the city of Long Beach. And when I was growing up, most of the races around me, not just black folks, used the N-word. I was next door to Cambodian homies who used the N-word. The Latino Hispanic homies use the N-word. White people use the N-word. Long Beach is that type of city. So my thoughts on the matter might be a little bit different than the norm. Where do I stand with the N-word specifically? I'm not a fan of it. I use it in satire sometime, maybe when I'm hanging around friends or something, but you're not going to catch me dropping the N-bomb, just saying it in every other word like a lot of people. It's just been a word that I've never really liked. I know the history behind it, and I think it's silly that black people have turned it into a term of endearment, when in fact the N-word, whether it's with a hard ER or an A, means the same thing. And then I love how people try to say the N-word stands for never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. Nah. I'm sorry, but N-words are, for the most part, ignorant. I would never identify myself as an N-word. I would hope that the black people I love in my life wouldn't identify themselves as N-words. I'm a black man. I'm a person of color. And I just don't like the word. I don't like the history of the word. And I just think if you call yourself the N-word, you're going to get treated as such. Black, white, Asian, brown, whatever. You call yourself an N-word, you're going to get treated as such. I mean, this word goes back a few hundred years. And I think it's a word that we just need to wipe out of our vocabulary. I feel like as long as we keep referring to ourselves as N-words, a certain section of America is going to treat us as such because they don't understand the ER and the A thing and all that, because that's really silly. An N-word is the type of person who will steal something from you and then help you find it. N-words don't have goals. They haven't really accomplished much in their life, but they're proud to be N-words. I mean, I hear people call themselves that, and I'm like, how could you put proud and N-word in the same title, in the same sentence? I don't have a problem with other races using it. I hear it all the time. I mean, I'm in Los Angeles now. I mean, I hear it all the time. And I do hear a lot of Hispanic, Latino, homies using that word. And it makes me cringe just as much as it does when a black person uses it. There's nothing more cringy to me when I'm out with my wife or I'm out with a group of people and there's just a bunch of black kids just dropping the N-bomb. Nigga, just dropping it. Not a fan. That makes me cringe when I see a group of black kids doing it. It makes me cringe when I see a group of Hispanic kids doing it. It makes me cringe when I see a group of Asian kids doing it. It makes me cringe. But I have no problem with you using it. I don't take offense to it. I'm not going to be like, hey, you better stop saying that word. If I know you personally and I love you, I'll probably be like, hey, dog, you dropped that word a little too much, man. Maybe you want to think of something else? But it doesn't make me mad. It doesn't make me upset. And I personally think Hispanics, Latinos, they have just as much right to say the word as black people do. It's a term of endearment, right? Right? Yeah, I really feel like there's no problem if other races use it. Now, what I will say, just because it doesn't bother me, doesn't mean it won't bother another black man. So I would be cautious if I do use that word. If I'm not black, I would be cautious. Yeah, I'd be a little cautious of who I use it around. I'd be cautious of just dropping it in public, because there still are people who think that word only belongs to black folks. And those are what we call niggas. Like anyone who thinks that word just belongs to black folks they're typical N-words. So I have no problem with you saying it. Say it all you want. I do think if you get to a certain age and you're dropping it like that, like if you're over 29 and you're still dropping the N-bomb, or you're still calling yourself an N-word, like if you're 21, 22, 17, 18, 19 and you're calling yourself an N-word, I get it. I did the same thing back in the day. Then I just started to realize that, damn, I'm getting treated like this. Once I started calling myself a black man, a man, not a nigga, is when I noticed everything around me changed. I noticed I wasn't getting pulled over by police more. I noticed I wasn't getting weird looks from people. I wasn't dressing like a typical N-word. I noticed my life changed for the better. Now, if you're 17, 18, and you refer to yourself as such, do your thing. But hopefully you grow up one day and realize that word is gross, man. Like that's a horrible word, period. Whether who says it's a horrible word. And it's funny to me that we call it a term of endearment now. Like my nigga means my brother. Like, really? Is that where we are now? Nah, man, I would never call anyone I love my nigga. I just wouldn't. I don't do that. That's my brother. That's my friend. That's my homie. Those are the words I use as terms of endearment. So everyone else, go ahead and say the word. I mean, but I will say this about Black America. Black America, niggas who don't like other people using the word, I guarantee if we stop saying the N-word, everyone else will. See, everyone else says it because it's cool. I mean, we're cool. Black folks are cool. We are what? People, we're the first with the fashion. We're the first with the slang. We're the first with the lingo, the haircut. We're the first with everything. Let's keep it real. You know what I mean? White America copies us. Other people copy us. Let's just keep it real. It is what it is. And I guarantee if we as black people stop using the N-word, everyone else will. It won't be cool anymore. We as black folk can actually make it cool to stop saying that word. Think about that for a second. We have our finger on the dial of everything that's going on in pop culture. If we woke up tomorrow as black men and said, you know what? Let's boycott the N-word. I guarantee it won't happen overnight, but slowly but surely, all other races will stop using the word. So in general, black folks, if you want people to stop saying the N-word, we need to stop saying it, period. It ain't one of those things, oh, we should be able to say it because we're black. Nah, dog. Nope, Let's give it a try. Let's boycott the N-word. Let's try it. Comment down below. Am I tripping? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Should other races be able to use the N-word? I say it's fine. But I will say use it with caution. Just because I'm cool with it doesn't mean the next man will be. And it's funny because I hang around older people. I like to hang around older people, man. Some of my best friends are literally in their 60s. 15, 20 years my senior. And they remember a time where the N-word was only derogatory. Like when a black man called another black man the N-word back in the day in the 60s and 70s, it wasn't no term of endearment. If he was calling you the N-word, he was calling you a piece of shit. Back in the 60s and 70s. But NWA comes out with niggas with attitudes. And now it's cool. And it's a term of endearment. Nah, man. And that's why a lot of older folks don't like that word. Talk to people in their 50s, 5, 60. Black folks, they don't like that word, bro. They grew up a little bit different. I grew up in the era where, yes, NWA was cool. So my generation, I'm almost, let's go 46, 47, 48, up to 50. They kind of get it. But you talk to people 55, 60, 65, they think that word is horrible. They were called that word when they were a kid, and it wasn't a term of endearment. Back then, when a white dude called you the N-word in the 50s and 60s, oh, it wasn't no term of endearment, homie. It meant you better run or get out of town. So let's boycott that word. All right, I'm going to step off my soapbox. Let me just ask you guys to hit that like button. Please hit that like button. Smash it for your boy. I just need you to smash it just a little bit. It really helps out the algorithm. Please do. And if this is the first time joining the channel and you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button. I encourage you to check out some of my interviews that I have on my channel. Some of my other topics. Just go down the rabbit hole. I have playlists. If you go to my playlist, I pretty much have everything separated out. I make it easy for you. So check out my playlist of my past shows, and I do hope you come back. And if you are on Rumble, R-U-M-B-L-E, it's an app. If you are on the Rumble app, please subscribe to DustyVisionTV. That's all one word, DustyVisionTV on Rumble. Thank you all so much. Talk to you soon. Peace.